Welcome to the Reminisce Show.
Hey, every Tuesday, man, carrying the traditions of Sankofa, man, because sometimes, we got to go back and collect what we may have forgotten, man. And woo, man, African Heritage Month, Black History Month, man, February 1st, man, we're setting it off right. Man, we're going to get into some legendary Toronto history foundations, man, that set the platform for so many brands that we all love today. So many artists that, are able to do their thing, man. There's some foundations, man. So we're going to go back into time, man, so we can understand where we're coming from to know where we're going, man. But before we get into all that good stuff, man, let's do a quick check-in. Yo, Bender, man, how are you feeling today, brother?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good, my brother. Just going through a slight little health thing, but we working on it. I got my OG Caribbean, got to have a little ginger ale ready, so my stomach's cool. And yeah, man, my head is happy because there's a lot of hip hop around me right now, and it just makes me feel good. And I'm just happy to just talk to you about this and my brother Garie. Like, this is gonna be a special OG moment. So how are you doing though? How are you two?
Oh, I'm doing well. Logik, you go first.
All right, yo, like I'm doing great, man. Not only is today the first day of African Heritage Month, African Liberation Month, or Black History Month, however you want to frame it, but it's also my daughter's birthday too. So she turns 9 today, man. So happy birthday to her. You know what I mean? Representing, man. So just a great way to set off, like, the month, the birth of my child as well. As you can see, man, like I'm representing, man. This is like one of my favorite hoodies that I own. Like people see me that I wear SFA all day, like, you know what I mean? So I'm wearing a different hoodie, like, it's serious if I'm not wearing Stolen from Africa, man. Like, so you know what I mean? So I'm just excited, man, just to build with Garie, man. Is a great dude, and we'll get more into like my the connection and the foundations. But I'm feeling good, man. It's exciting. I love my my timelines online of just like lots of wonderful information. People are excited to be Black and proud and whatnot. So I'm loving that, even if it's just for a month. For people like us, man, we represent year round. It means Black history every day. But it is nice to see. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at now, man. So brother Garie, man, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I'm just blessed to see another day in this life. Give the Creator all the praises above. Just give me the breath, to live another day. So I'm just humbled to be here right now and gracious.
That's peace.
Peace, man. Peace. Yo, man. So, man, that being said, man, 100 Miles, legendary Toronto brand, man. Pioneers, like the foundations. I would even say the brand was ahead of its time. You know what I mean? I was going online. I'm going to show you all some clips and whatnot, and just the things that you all were able to do, in the early 90s. I'm thinking like as early as 93, like.
Well, we started 91, 92. So
wow.
Yeah, we started officially 91.
What was the first piece of clothing that you held and that was like, you're like, all right, it's real now? Was it like a jersey, a shirt, a pants, or what?
T-shirt?
A t-shirt? All right.
T-shirt. Yeah, that was our very first piece, and we could go into all of that. I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, like, I mean, maybe we can just start off with the first time, like, seeing 100 Miles, like for me, obviously like Above the Rim, like I've been like a big TUPAC fan for forever. And I just remember just seeing that. And then what happened was it was a brethren in high school. He came to school with the hoodie. And I was like, yo, where'd you get this? You know what I mean? He's like, yo, it's a Toronto. And I'm like, yo, like I snapped, you know what I'm saying? And like, like he wouldn't even tell me where he got it from, man. He was just like trying to, it was like exclusive, like, those ones?
Yeah.
That's cool. You don't want to tell, man. You want to be like the one guy that has it, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. And ever since then, I just kind of held that, man. And, just seeing, the legacy, like the artists that you have been able to connect with from like, like Redman and, even Biggie and TUPAC, which we'll get into in a bit later. Just seeing like the foundations, of fashion and hip hop, like, and how that even connects with music. I mean, now it's like a regular thing, you know what I mean? But back then I think it was like really innovative, especially coming from Canada. Like people weren't even doing that, so But before we get into those foundational stories, man, like Bender, what was your first time seeing 100 miles? And
I mean, it's always a weird question for me because I don't honestly remember too many of my first times of anything, even though like I don't remember the exact very first time. I remember around the first time when I heard that 100 miles existed, because I was living in Ottawa at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I did high school in Ottawa, even though I was born in Toronto. So it was like 91, 92, we're up there. And my boys was talking about like, yo, we got our own clothing brand. Cause I remember in 93, Naughty by Nature were doing naughty wear. And then my boy was like, yo, man, you don't even like, yo, there's a Toronto, these guys put out 100 miles. So I'm pretty sure I came down from Ottawa, and one of my boy, either Tim or Terrell, actually had I'm pretty sure it was a shirt. I don't remember 100%, but I know I came down and I was like, oh, yo, like this is Toronto made, and they're like, yeah, this is from here. And so yeah, that was kind of, I don't know, that was probably close to it. But I want to hear your stories, Garie, about you actually physically making it and actually handing it to other artists. Like, I mean, Logik, do you have questions that you? I mean,
we'll get into that, man. I think it's more about like just going right to the beginning, man. I mean, like the idea of having like a fashion brand, you know what I mean? Especially coming from Toronto, Canada, you know, early 90s. You know, I'm curious to know like what was happening around that time that like really inspired, you know, that type of energy.
Well, I remember I was in university, and the prophet said, the professor at the time had said, you know, young people, go out and, you know, seek your dreams, and, you know, go and, you know, do what inspires you. And, you know, at the time I was seeing Benetton and another company that still exists, right? Because I don't want to downplay them. They were doing ads that were kind of derogatory to the Black community. And, you know, when I was looking around, because I was like in retail, I was like, you know what? I don't see any Black represented clothing. Like we're buying everybody's clothing, but there's nothing representing us as a culture. And so I felt like in my heart, like there was some kind of void, or there's something missing here, right? Because I'm saying to myself, why am I buying all these brands and they don't really correlate with my history or my struggle, right? Or like even representing me on a whole. And so that's kind of what drove me into getting into fashion and getting into trying to create this brand that now everybody has seen. And, you know, that was kind of my motivation, was to create something for my people that I'd hope they'd wear and, you know, be inspired by. And then, you know, in doing so, I said to myself, you know, if I just only limit it to like my own, right, then I'm not going to have like all the rest of everybody else's business or other cultures learning about us. And so that's why we always remain synonymous to being 100 miles, because I felt it represented us as a people, the fact that we've come 100 miles, but we still got 100 miles to go, right? To you know, to be unified and to be empowered in every single way. So here I am now.
That is beautiful to hear.
That's man. It's a marathon, yo. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
So I mean, for some people who might not have, I mean, it's just good to talk about history. Like I do believe that it might have been in a clip that we studied, but like, could you officially speak where like the idea for 100 miles came from?
Yeah, well, I was there was a big TTC strike, and I was on the Don Valley. I boarded my sister's car, believe it or not. Like it was this little small car. There was like millions of cars on the Don Valley, and I was stuck in front of a 100-kilometer sign. And I'm looking at the sign, right? 100 clicks, 100, like 100 miles. And then it's like, that's when like the Newton, you know, the apple fell on the head, and then this whole concept came, right? Whereas like when we first started, we only made 100 of everything, and we hand numbered it from 1 to 100, right? So we had this whole concept of creating a limited style, because we felt that we didn't want to, one, I didn't want to play out fashion or play out our fashion that we were trying to create. So we created that whole 100 concept. And then the name 100 miles, it symbolizes the human race, the fact that we've come 100 miles in everyday life, whether it's war, oppression, discrimination. Well, like now it's COVID, right? Like now we're in the time of COVID where we got to go 100 miles to surpass this and, you know, get the right knowledge and health factors in order for us to sustain human life, right? So we've come 100 miles, but we still got 100 miles to go. And that's kind of how the concept came.
Perfect. Yo,
that's beautiful, man. Yo, like I want to play this like throwback clip, man. I love this clip because it reminds me of like the old Toronto. You know what I mean? Like the talk shows, and just like when I was checking out like the audience members, I'm just like, yo, man, there's no black faces in here, but yo, we here. You know what I mean? Like now Toronto's like super diverse, and you know, like the culture is out there, but once upon a time it wasn't like that. And I want to play this clip and then just like for you to kind of like reminisce of like what was happening for you like at that time, you know, like being on a talk show. You know, it's still kind of crazy to me. Even the person who's like interviewing y'all, you know what I mean? You can tell they're not really into the culture. It's just kind of like, all right, we'll just handle this, and just the way how they're working. But you know, I just want to play this throwback, man, from like 90, 93, you know.
Okay, shut up, Paul. That's a purple hat then and now.
Yes.
What your customers ask for, you get a lot of people wanting black jeans. You go, hey, maybe it's time we did some of those.
Yeah, right. Here's the famous, what we call the red man vest. There's a celebrity called Red Man.
Yeah, that's the red man vest that we called it. If you Google it or on YouTube, you'll see Red Man performing on Soul Train.
And of course,
Don Cornelius, the late great Don Cornelius, wearing our merchandise and performing on Soul Train. That's why we call it the Red Man vest. And that's our official logo. The logo that you see right there, that's the official 100 Miles logo, not the official one. Right? So everybody thinks that the Tupac/Drake hoodies are our official signature, but that is. And there's your baseball jersey. And that was a very, very special piece for us, because it's something that we don't really see a lot of now, and that's something called chain stitch. Okay. And it was very, very unique in terms of, like, if you see the stitching that we were working with in terms of just trying to be very, very different. And like you can see, it still stands out today. That's like the piece that Mindbender's wearing is like 30 years old. Wow. And it still holds up. So you know, shout out our late manufacturers and suppliers. And that this is another cool piece, was that we were at the same time in school, and we wanted to make like a vest that we could put our books in, so we didn't have to have a backpack. So if you look on the
that's so wild.
The vest, there's a backpack we built into the vest, right? So we back then, I would say that we were very, very experimenting with fashion and pushing the limits, not knowing exactly what we were doing. You're right. We were just like, as you can see on his jacket, you can see the number on his sleeve, right? So when a lot of people don't see in the background, if you look at above the rim closely, you'll see this jacket in there, right? So that's some of the cool stuff. Like, and inside this jacket, it's a map of the whole world, right? So a lot of our older pieces, like we were worried about detail back then a lot. So everything was heavy embroidery, still is heavy embroidery, a lot of appliques, and just trying to make high fashion, right? Or high end merchandise. So that's like a full leather. That's number 7 out of 100 jackets that we'd make. And then, you know, just some really cool iconic pieces. The rugby jacket, this jersey that Mo's wearing is the same denim. Like, so we were making denim baseball jerseys. Like, nobody was doing that at that time, right? Because people were making baseball jerseys, but we said, all right, how are we going to be different, right? And so we'd always try to put our twist on things, or put our twist on fashion that it made it ours, right? And then kind of some of the downsides to doing all that, it was that a lot of people are watching us. And you know, in making fashion, we learned at a young age that when you're doing something, I guess, very creative or different, there's some that will just straight copy you, whether they're a bigger brand than you or a brand that's trying to compete with you, right? So we had a lot of, you know, predicaments with, you know, seeing bigger brands, even our manufacturers, you know, copying our designs or our original, you know, ways of making clothing, right? Which was ours. So we kind of felt a little bit of you know, at a young age, a resentment towards fashion too, because we felt that, you know, why can't everybody just be original and not copy us, or, you know, don't like infringe on what like another one has, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just be original in who you are, right? And so we saw that there was a lot of clothing lines that were coming up, and they were just trying to be synonymous to us or copying us. And, you know, we kind of felt that, you know, let's just keep doing what we're doing. But it was kind of a deterrent, let's say, at the time.
Yeah, no, that's like super interesting because, you know, like just in the beginning of the interview, just even the way how like the host is like introducing you can tell like this is like new, fresh. They almost don't even know what to really do with it. It's like,
Yeah.
like she's like asking about like, okay, this guy's wearing a belt buckle. Did he just leave it like that? Is he gonna like you can tell like it's just, you know, they don't even know what to do with it. But then, you know, people will obviously duplicate things at work. You know,
Right.
so they start seeing that, oh, hold on, wait a minute, this is catching on. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that even the models were that diverse. You know what I mean? It's not just it's black, you got white all there, and just really showing that like, yes, this is a hip hop brand, but it really is for everybody. And I'm just curious, you know, like at that particular moment, like how was it like received in the community? You know, like generally. Like,
oh wow, April 30th. 92 was our store opening, our first store on Yonge Street, and we opened up with City TV, CB2 for the whole 9 yards. Yeah, there you go, in our face. And, you know, we opened up with the Fushnikins, Organized Confusion, and the UMCs. They were our guests that were doing autograph signing. And at that time, we kind of landed on artists and brands collabing in order for, one, the consumer to meet the artists, and two, to introduce our brand. And so it was like busy from the very first day that we ever opened our store, and it was like it blew up, right? We had one of those, right? And kind of overwhelming for like when you're like 19, 20 years old, like that I was at the time. And it was a lot of growing and a lot of like maturing with the brand and maturing with the new headspace, let's say, that we put ourselves in. So it was like being, let's say, the age I am now, but like when I was a teenager or coming into my adulthood, my early adulthood. So, yeah.
Like it seemed like things were like moving like really fast, you know, just like the people that you're connected with and whatnot. I got some more questions, but I'll pass over to Bender real quick. We got some.
Yeah, like you made me think of like when you make something real dope in the culture, you know, there's always going to be style biters, and like no matter like in every level of the culture it was at, and we saw that like we, you know, like dope MCs, DJs, producers, clothing lines. So like I thought, I mean, I was wondering like not only how do you deal with like biters of your style, like do you run up on like fashion designers the way like MCs would run up? And I was also wondering like the way that music and drugs and certain things, it's just like you can produce anything, but you don't grow until you have a distribution method. So I was wondering like how difficult in the beginning was it to like get your stuff out? Like, you know, you're making it from Toronto, and it's like, how was it hard to convince distributors to put your stuff on the racks when you got a...
No, Back then, I think with the artists, you know, that we were intertwined with, we were down with Uptown Records,
Yep.
which like synonymous to Bad Boy. So we had like Heavy D, we had Mary J, Christopher Williams. If you look through the whole Christopher Williams music video, it's all 100 miles. He's swearing in the video. If you get a chance to look at MTV Unplugged with Uptown, right, featuring Father MC, Jodeci, all the backup artists are wearing 100 miles, right? And so a lot of our popularity or people knowing about us was the artists, like the iconic. Yeah, there's another example. Mos Def now, aka Aslan Bey, you know, he's rapping about us here, right? And wearing 100 miles. So it was a lot of that type of and with him, you know, he gave our clothing to Russell Simmons at the time, which was now Fat Farm and Def Jam, like huge Russell Simmons. And he had a jersey just like most. Bill Cosby had it, and then we got into 555 Soul, which was in the Village in Manhattan.
Okay.
At the time, that was our very first distribution that we ever did, was in New York, and that was Carmela. All right, shout out Carmela from 555 Soul, and she took in our brand, and we did very well to the point where we got to Dr. J's. All right, Dr. J's is a very, very big outfit in New York, and we were in a few of their stores in terms of our distribution. And so through the Source magazine and Word Up magazine and all the different magazines that were featuring us, whether like in their comic editorials where they had their cartoon characters wearing our clothing, or you just see DOS Effects or Redman wearing our stuff on a page in the Source magazine. That's how a lot of people heard about 100 Miles or saw us, right? And didn't know where we were from, right? Because they didn't even know Toronto existed. So everybody thought we were an American brand, right? So we had a lot of no, we're not American. No, we're not American. In the beginning of our career, to like overcome, and we were always frustrated. I remember about that, like everybody thinking that we were from America and that we were an American brand. And you know, we then started putting Canada and Toronto on our merch because we really wanted to let people know that we were from Toronto, Canada. We weren't American, and things dope come from Canada. Right? It's not just everything in America or the UK. There's a place called Canada, and there's Black people here too. And you know, we don't live in igloos, and you know, when we could do this very same things, right? And now look, you know, 30 years later, the #1 artist in the world, you know, iconic now, is from Toronto. So
indeed.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's like full circle, and just like you being able to be there to witness all of this, you know what I mean? As you're talking, it kind of reminds me of like Ghostface Killer. You know, like when he first came out, he had like the mask on. You didn't really know like who he was or what he was about. You just know it was dope, and then it was like later revealed. So like it kind of seems like it, you know, it seems like it wasn't intentional for you guys, but I think that might have been like the best, like it's like Trojan horse kind of vibe.
It wasn't intentional. I feel like even now with artists making merchandise to everybody doing what we call product placement on artists. That's all because of ourselves and another brand from Toronto, that we kind of were just in our own little worlds of competition, not realizing like the bigger powers to be are watching what we were doing. And like, or what we call the corporates of the world, right? We're taking our injection into the fashion game and making their spin on it, because they have the big capital to endorse artists or endorse the music, and you know, created their own little, let's say, brands and so forth, or ways of doing things in terms of putting artists in their clothing. Like, so I pretty much want to attribute that to a lot of the early 90s Black streetwear brands for, you know, doing that, and, you know, us being so competitive back then, right? Especially the Toronto brands, right? We were heavily competitive, but at the same time, I feel like we were just doing what we naturally knew how to do, and that's just make clothes and try to survive in a very competitive market.
Indeed, man. Because, like, you know, when I look back, you know, of just like some of the artists that come up, like, you know, like 100 Miles, Two Black Guys, like when you see these brands, it's like it still trips me out that this is Toronto, and you guys, like you said, like, you know, like just had a certain way of delivering stuff, but it just happened to get it in the right places and in the right, you know, in the right hands, you know. And to me, like when I look at that, I'm like, it's almost like how did y'all know that this was like the way to do it? Like, was there like no other option? It was like just like, well, let's just connect with artists, and then, you know, people will see the artist wearing it. Like,
no, it was just the love of the music. Tell you the honest to God truth.
Okay.
Right? I love all genres of music, but to my heart is all Black music. And so, you know, in being in love with hip hop, right? I was more times like that fan that was like, oh my God, like it's Karis One. Like, I can't believe I'm, you know, and they're looking at me like the same thing, like, oh my God, I'm with this designer guy. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm like around you.
Right.
It was just a mutual love of just enjoying the culture and building the culture at that point, right? And like I said, it was just the love of the music. So I wouldn't say that it was anything else besides that, right? It was just, you know, and that's what inspired us to keep going, was like, you know, the music. It was always the music, and still is the music.
Absolutely, man. Yo, I want to play this clip real quick, man, and I want to get into like this story, man, how this epic, you know, moment. This is like a Canadian heritage moment to me. You know what I'm saying? So let's see this, yo.
Hold up. What is this shit? He's right there on my original roster in a fucking uniform. He is now.
Oh wow.
Doesn't matter.
Love you, Pac.
That's fucking bullshit, man.
TUPAC Shakur. That's TUPAC Shakur. Famous hoodie.
How did it feel when you first saw that?
I was overwhelmed. I like, my heart skipped a beat, like, because we were, like I said, we at that time we were just in music videos, and so we didn't know anything about like movies. Like we I'm not even sure we did New York Undercover yet. Like our clothing was in New York Undercover, and we're also in Kiss of Death, right? That movie, our clothes appears in that movie. But this was our very first time actually seeing our stuff on a big screen and just saying, wow, I didn't know that, you know, from Toronto we could even get to this, you know, plateau. And so at that point we felt that, all right, there's no more competition with those guys over there. It's more about, okay, what's our next move? Right? Like what's next after this? Like, you know, how are we going to sustain this and you know, make it bigger? But at that time, like I said, I was very young. We didn't have social media. There was no social media. Everything was just kind of like flyers, stickers, right? And our store. And, you know, I was still trying to understand, like, wow, the how in which like this whole thing is gonna play out. And I remember, I believe right after I met Biggie, and when I met Biggie, you know, Pocket just wore my stuff, and I felt, oh my God, Biggie's gonna want to kill me. Like this guy's gonna want to beat me up because, you know, his rival at this big moment is wearing my brand. And Biggie was like, gee, I'm your biggest fan. And at that point, I was like, what? Fan? What are you talking about, fan? Like, nobody's ever talked to me about being a fan. Like, no, for real, I'm a fan of your brand. And I was like, you're not going to kill me? You're like, no, man, gee, it's just love. He goes, only celebrities wear your stuff. He's like, you don't know what's going on. And I'm like,
Wow.
I was very not clued in, because we still have this concept of not really getting too gassed up on the celebrities and the stars and our history. We just always want to think about tomorrow. What are we going to do next, or what's next on our plate of things? And so, at the time, he just kind of opened up my eyes. That's when I really started to really, take my brand seriously. Right, it was after I met Biggie. Right,
so like two things. I want to go back to the Pac store, but before Biggie, like I saw like in a previous interview where like I think like Biggie, he just came to your store, like you said, he was a fan. Like the record execs weren't really feeling that. They're just like, yo, and he just didn't really care, and was ready to like par with you, like at that time, like did you get like his phone number, and like did you call him?
I called Biggie, like he goes, gee, take my number, call me anytime. So like same with Lauryn Hill, right? So I used to call Lauryn all the time.
Okay, one story at a time. Everybody get to all of them. Biggie first. Hold on.
Details on both of those. So yes, Biggie. Yeah.
So he lived on Prospects. I remember that because back then we had these big notepads, like almost like a little computer, and I had his information and his number, and he's like, you'd have like, I think it was Ready to Die when I was calling, and left my name on his thing. Like you'd hear the music, like Ready to Die, like, and I'm like, yo, Big, it's G. Holla to, you know what I'm saying? So it was what I call the real time in hip hop, like where people were just doing real things. It was really about the music. It was really about the culture. It was really about our energies. You know what I mean? And just respecting, just a lot of respect for each other's artistry. And that's what really drove me, right? Was getting those intimate moments. And I have a lot of stories with, huge legendary artists that I've had some really, really cool, intimate moments with for, the rest of my life to, that I can share. So kind of dope.
Well, like you're blessed with that. And I like what you said about like a real time in hip hop where, and this is something that I really vibe off of, where it's just like energy, you know what I mean? Like it's just a real recognized, real type vibe. Doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, a regular man on the block. Like if we vibe, we vibe. And just hearing that Biggie story, it's like that's how I envision him. And it's cool that's like the vibe, you know what I mean? It was just like, it's some real shit, man. Like that's simple and plain,
that's the whole thing with the record execs at the time. They didn't want him coming to our store, and he even told me like, yo, G, they didn't want to take me to your store, and that was because the competition, they wanted him.
Okay.
And that's how much we knew we were a threat to everybody else, is because they have people at the corporate level working for them, and we're just on the street level, and we have that love on the street, right? Whereas these artists are coming to find us now as they come to Toronto, you know what I mean? So that was like, again, a humbling moment, right? When I look back now, during this history month, that I'm very gracious for that type of love shown to the brand. You know what I'm saying? That regardless of what like the record executives would say, they're gonna go do what they wanted to do and build with us, right?
That speaks volumes, and that's like the space that I rather be in, you know what I mean? And it's for a certain kind of person, you feel me? Like there's that corporate world, which it's cool, but I rather be comfortable, like on the ground, like, with the people,
right? And that's what we felt.
I love that. So now I want to kind of go back to like Above the Rim, yo, because like in this previous interview, it almost seemed like you didn't even want to do it, yo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like you didn't really see the bigger picture, like movies. Like, did you even know that Pac was in it, like first of all, or was it just
how it went, right? I'll try to tell the story real quick. So
we got time.
I have friends that now they're huge Hollywood directors now, and at the time they were just my friends, right? They're actually the guys that shot the very first Ghetto Concept music video, Easy on the Bone, right? So Jesse Terrero and Yuli Terrell, shout outs. Right? They'd come to my store, the store on Yonge Street, and at the time they're coming from New York, and the driver at the time, like, so it was a crew of them, he got pulled over and he had warrants like for driving. And so if you have warrants in New York or America for driving, they arrest you. So the money that they had to come shopping at my store, they took the money and bailed him out. Their friend out of jail so that they could still come to Toronto. So they came to Toronto, and then they came to my store and they're like, yo, G, we have no money. We want you to hook us up. And I was like, are you crazy? Are you mad? You want my stuff for free? I was like, there's no way in hell you're going to get nothing for free. So they begged me with K Force. Sean K Force which was part of Main Source. And so Force is like, come on, G, please, yo. These guys came all the way from New York just to come and see you and build with you. And, you know, they got no money. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to close my eyes, take one of every, like, whatever you want, just take it and go. Don't ever like bother me again. So they're like, yo, G, they showed me love, whatever. When they got back to New York now, I remember them calling me and saying, yo, we need you to send us some more gear. And I was like, are you out of your mind?
Send money.
And so I remember I'm talking to Per Smith from EPMD on the Next Line. We're talking about Redman and DOS Effects. And this is before they even blew up. Like, they're like, yo, G, you could bring Redman, like, do a concert with Redman for us. So, like, and I'm like, who the hell's Redman? Like, I want you guys, right? And at the time, like, they kept calling me because it was too, like, I had double, like, you could click the phone and then you're like on the line. He's like, yo, G, and I'm like, I'd hang up. I'm like, yo, you're not listening. I'm like, yo, I'm talking to EPMD right now on the phone. I don't got no time to send you guys no more free stuff. And so maybe I remember about a week or two went by, and then this lady, I remember it was like an afternoon, I'm in my store, and like that back then we're playing loud hip hop. So you like, we got to literally turn on the music to hear the phone ring. And the lady goes, is this Garie? Like, you know, they have this American accent. And I'm like, yes. Who's this? Because I'm the producer of, like, at the time, Above the Rim. And I'm like, oh, what? She's like, the boys have told me that you don't want to send no clothes or nothing. What's the issue? Is it money? Is it? And I'm like, yeah, it's money.
Send money.
Yeah, it's money. She's like, she goes, look, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And McDonald's and all these guys are paying big money to be in this movie, and we want you in it for free. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. This must be a scam still. So they send me a UPS number where I could send whatever I want, like just ship it to them on this account. So I remember I said to my peoples, yeah, get me everything I don't like. So I didn't like that hoodie.
What? Yo.
Yes.
I'm being truthful.
I love it.
I like the hoodie. So I was like, yo, send them all that shit, right? I don't want that. So you can send that to them, right? So that one, they think they're getting some free shit on me. They get all the garbage that I don't care.
Throwaways.
Yes. So I remember the lady calling me saying thank you and this and that. And I had to fill out the first time credits, like movie credits. And I was like, what the hell? This must be real. Then then they sent me the script. Like I still have the script to this day.
Wow.
Yes. Like I just have to look and I can find the actual Above the Rim script, right? Like by scene, and it tells you all about the whole play. And you see McDonald's at the end of it, then you see my name, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, wow, this must be something big. And when we did that, I remember most Def and my man that worked for Flavor Unit, which was Queen Latifah at the time. They were calling me and like, yo, Tupac has on your gear, yo. And I was like, for real? And like I never like back then it wasn't like social media of today where like the Instagram live and stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? And then I remember Pac got into a little bit of situations, and so it took another couple of years for the movie to actually come out. So I was like, man, I just sent all this free stuff, and this movie ain't even coming out. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember when we finally got like the green light that it was out, and we had sponsored the opening of the movie. I had gone into the cinema, which was just up the block from my store at the time. So it was like I watched the premiere of the movie like a block, let's say, away from my store, and I just remember being like, holy you know what I mean, like saying holy crap. And then my friends were telling me afterwards, like, Pac just wanted to know if I was black, and once he heard that it was from a black designer, he put it on and wouldn't take it off, right? And God rest his soul, and true story to the life, and the rest is history now.
Yo, that's such like a beautiful story, man. Thank you for sharing that exclusive, man. Because one thing I've noticed, like I watched a lot of documentaries and whatnot, and I've noticed a lot of epic moments in time almost like didn't happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're always like something that just almost didn't happen, like, and something fell apart or, almost by accident, So like when you tell me this story, it's really incredible, yo. And, I'm so glad that you just at least, took that chance and was like, all right, like whatever, just take it and just get out of here. And it turned out to be, I think, like a major, like an epic defining moment of the brand, like people still talk about to this day.
Yes. It's one of our, how should I say it now? There's so much since going on social media, so much people that we've met now on social media or worldwide. Like his fan base is so tremendous. Like it's incredible. Like every single day, 30 years later, see people in Australia, see people in Germany, Netherlands, Ireland, Italy, France, England, like all over America. Like that hoodie's gone, because of Tupac, and like whoever thought, like as Biggie say, hip hop would take it this far. You know what I'm saying, right? And that's always like a quote that like I always reference to, and true to its day, that we did take it that far, and we're going to keep taking it that further. You know what I'm saying? So we're very much living. Pac is very much living through our brand and Biggie as
indeed, man.
Forever.
Yeah.
Those stories are like just like super golden, and like you said, like when Pac said when he found it was a black designer, he didn't take it off, man. Like he wanted that, I mean, like Pac understood the assignment, you know what I'm saying?
And as much as these artists of today are showing so much love and support to these big, European fashion houses.
Speak on it, yo. Speak on
it. It was quite opposite back then. It was where it was about black designers. It was about uplifting our own culture of people so that we could be empowered. So, shout out to black guys. Shout out Walker Wear. Shout out Maurice Malone. Shout out Fat Farm. Shout out Sean John. Shout out Carl Kanai. Shout out Cross Colors. Right? Because, we're the trailblazers. We're the ones that had to put the match under our feet and get hot. You know what I'm saying? And take some L's, in the process, take the criticisms, take the, the copycats, the bootleggers, you know what I'm saying? But we're the ones that, put the culture and put the, this turning wheel that you see that's spinning now, that, there's all types of Black inspired artists now in terms of fashion or music, and,
Indeed.
and on and on and on.
Yo, I'm so like what you just said. I'm gonna jump off there because you took the question out of my head. Like I was gonna talk about like I like you do some, like there's some things when they say if you want to become a multimillionaire, choose one thing and you do it very well, and not become a jack of all trades. And sometimes I wonder with some of these business people, because I'm like I love seeing the hip hop culture expand and stuff, but I was like, I wonder how fashion people felt when like Puff Daddy made Sean John and I'm like, dude, I'm like, yo, like Puffy is like wearing 15 hats, like producer. And I'm like, is he doing too much? And I'm like, I thought about like, they're obviously, us in the culture were like, yo, it's a Black owned thing. So there's part of us that would respect it. And like, I got Sean John stuff along with all this stuff. I do love that. But from a fashion designer, I was just wondering, like, when you link up with these guys, is it more like a camaraderie, like, hey, we're all like fashion brothers together against like Tommy Hilfiger and the Bay and whatever, or is it like friendly competition, or is there sometimes beef sometimes in like?
Yeah, there's sometimes beefs.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all love.
Okay,
cool. Like it just all depends on the relationships. It all depends on your ego. And back then, I'm not gonna lie, I was young. I remember when I had the idea, I had a huge ego. My head was like this big, right? Because there wasn't like how it is now, where everybody's trying to establish themselves. We were just one of very few, and so for us, we had that Kanye West kind of attitude before Kanye.
Word.
Right? Like we seriously, like we thought we were the issue, and we know how like certain brands like Sean John got their plays was because of us, right? Because when you look at the Christopher Williams video, when you look at the Above the Rims, you see Black fashion, and we were doing it back then, and so they were all seeing that, and that's what inspired them, right? What was us. And so how can you be mad at your own brother? You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be. The only time I get really upset is when you straight bite, right? Or you straight bootleg me. But like if you're getting inspiration off of what I've created, and you're showing me that, then I know that I've been blessed to have done something right, and that I can keep that going on in my culture and keep hopefully inspiring more to do the same, right? And so to me, we've always said, we don't look at Black brands. We always look at the other brands, because those are the ones that everybody's giving the attention and love to. So anytime that we get a little bit of spotlight, whether it be ourselves or any other one, it's power to us, right? And that's just motivation for us as a brand to keep going and to keep being inspiring, right? Because we know that we were the how should I say it, the foundation. We set the foundation.
You did.
So like, I'm curious to know, like in your opinion, like when do you feel that like that there was like a shift, you know what I mean, from like this like kind of like this like pro-Black like clothing era of fashion where people are like, yo, this is us, like knows representing our community, our people, and then when things started going more, it's like, yeah.
I want to say it's never left us. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of us recognizing, you know what I mean? Like what we have as people, right? So I believe everything always goes like in a circle. So I feel that what's happened is that a lot of these, let's say, not part of the culture businesses have come in on the culture, like because you could see, like for instance, I see commercials where rappers are, I know they're getting a check, and that product that they're endorsing or promoting has nothing to do with hip hop or the culture, but they're using that rapper as a marketing tool,
right?
And so that's where sometimes, like, it's like we wanted to become so successful that are we selling out our culture just to get a paycheck, right? Because now, like, you know, you see, like I said, the furthest thing from hip hop or from Black music being emulated into the culture, like it's cool because they have this artist promoting it, you know what I mean? And that's kind of some of the issues that, you know, I always look at it as like, you know, all right, I get you want to make money, but how real are you being to the culture and to where you first came out or what you first represented, you know, as opposed to what you're promoting now. And I see that a lot, you know what I mean?
Integrity, yo.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So real, yo. I got something else here if that's cool.
Okay.
And I have an interesting question because, like, I have this issue of Boom magazine. I'm like,
holy crow.
Yeah.
Folks, we get all this old. Oh my God.
No, we're like, yo, this is gold. This is gold. But like, pardon me?
That was D Fluke, I believe, the gentleman that made that magazine. Yeah.
So
way back.
Yeah, so this is way back, but like on the back page we got this. Yeah, so like this is dope. Not only does it, you know, talk about your OG store and the OG number and stuff, but I wanted to get into this, the airbrushing.
Yeah.
Specializing in airbrushing, because I remember, like, that was I mean, you know, not to say that it's gone, but like, you know, it's not the way that it was in the 90s where we would have like a pair of overalls or a jacket or whatever and have that. And like, so I just wanted to know, like, is there like styles that you created or that were like maybe too ahead of the time, or like things that you missed that doesn't happen anymore? You're like, yo, I liked like that era. Like, like what, like, yeah, just going to like things in fashion that it's like not ready for the time, or like, oh, we used to do that, and like,
there was so many things that we used to do that we don't really do anymore, like airbrushing. Airbrushing was my artist at the time. Shout out Rich Suja, a really amazing artist. We met at Fairview Mall when I first had the idea, the concept, and he was working behind me, right? I was working in a retail store, and I remember going up to him. I'm about 18 years old and say, hey, do you want to work for me? Like, who is this black guy asking? Like, he's like, he's mean. He's asking me if I want to work for him, and he's looking at me like, this guy must be on some crack or something, like at the time. And I'm like, yeah. I said, yo, I want you to work for me, right? And I want you to come down and do what you're doing now at my store. And I remember it was maybe 2-3 weeks before, like, you know, I got the store downtown, and he calls me and he goes, yo, Garie, remember when you offered me that job? Well, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to be this airbrush artist, but all I need you to do is buy me this like this air compressor, this airbrush. And I'm like, that's soft, man. You got that, right? And, you know, he created the whole image of 100 Miles. So when you come into 100 Miles back then, it was a visual display of what we represented on our walls, right? Whether it was the artists like signing their autograph pictures, but it was a representation of how we saw ourselves artistically, right? So not only did you get like an experience to come into our store, but it was like an art museum, right? Or a place where this is where you feel like hip hop home, or the cultural mecca in Toronto for the music. Because at that time, hip hop was like still like a very underground music. It wasn't heard on mainstream radio like how you have Flow 93.5 now. It was something that you heard on CKLN on the community radio stations on the weekends. And, you know, we were now we're saying to ourselves, we're going to be Monday to Friday through our store hip hop. We're going to be promoting this stuff that the city only hears on the weekends through our store every single day. Right. And so on Young Street, you know, 19 years, I had a big bass bin, and I'm talking, I cranked that thing so everybody could hear black music from, and people used to tell me that's how they found my store, was that, you know, blocks and blocks they could hear the music, or they could hear Biggie pounding down the street. So, you know, we wanted to really, at that time, show people how much love we had for hip hop and R&B and soul music, you know, reggae, right? And so, and soca, like every single genre you could think of in terms of our culture, we were promoting it. Jazz, you know, we were pushing that music at a very loud tempo so people could hear us and know that we had a voice, and we were a musical force as well as a fashion force to reckon with, you know.
Yo, that's so deep, man. Like when I hear that, that's like the original like social media. You know what I mean? Like you're putting out the speakers, literally like the bat signal. You know what I'm saying? Like people know where to go. But then also to like really speak to the fact that, you know, hip hop was still underground. It wasn't on mainstream radio. This is like when you had like, you know, like black radio, where it was literally called that, and you know, college radio. This is probably back in the day when the only like you know, black station that we would get would be BLK. You know what I'm saying? That's in Buffalo. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So yeah, so to hear what you guys were doing, like it's so innovative and pioneering and very intuitive, actually. Because like you just kind of knew, it's like, yo, like these people don't want to play our stuff, then we'll do that. We only hear it on the weekend. We only hear it on Power Move Show. You come by the store, you hear it every day.
Yeah, and then what happened to us is that the radio, the record companies started sending us like Mary J's album before it released, Snoop's album before it released. Yeah, so we had a lot of all the artists' pre-releases. Like that was like normal for us, right? And then we always knew that with the pre-releases, like, okay, are they coming to the store? Or like, so we had so many artists come through the store, right?
So you guys were essentially like, you know, for people who are in the social media like spaces now, like this is like the early days of social media, what it looked like. Like you were the media out, like the hub.
We were. Yeah, like, even for the concerts, like we were the validation that hip hop concert was happening, because the artists would be like, it was like, it's kind of like an automatic, or they're gonna roll to 100 Miles or Two Black Guys. They're gonna like we're gonna see artists that, and that's how we know that the concert's really actually happening. And then everybody starts buying their tickets there or lining up, is because, oh, I saw them down at 100 Miles early in the day, or some at Two Black Guys. And so that's kind of like what we were. We were like the Facebook or the Instagram.
Oh, really?
That's real.
Or what they call now the plug.
Yeah.
Before the plug, right? You know, that some of the artists would sign autographs, and then HMV got into it because of us, right? HMV was a record store, right?
Yep.
And you know, like
they did autograph sessions,
yeah, and that was based off of us. You know what I mean? We were doing that. We were doing that. Like we were doing these things before everybody. That's how we opened our store, was doing autograph sessions. And so, you know, it just came synonymous with us that, you know, the artists is, you know, sometimes would just automatically come to our store, right? And, you know, I remember like House of Pain, you know what I mean? Like Danny Boy and Everlasting, them coming through. Pete Rock, Seal Smooth, J. Rue the Damager. That's how I'm good friends with Buckshot, Black Moon, Wesson. I remember going to New York or Staten Island to meet up with Wu Tang, and then Wu Tang that same week comes down to Toronto looking for me. So yeah, so I'm on the phone with them. I'm like, yo, I'm over here trying to find you guys. They're like, yo, we're at your store, and I'm like, how the hell did this happen?
That's
And so some really cool moments. Some artists that people don't even know, Chia Lee, or like
yeah.
We know, but yeah, keep going.
Mike Geronimo, The Artifacts, Lords of the Underground, Keith Murray, Old Dirty Bastard, the whole Wu Tang, many times.
You met ODB?
Yeah, of course. That was my closest one.
You have any stories about ODB? Rest in peace, man.
ODB,
please, one ODB story. If you could.
ODB was the realest one. Like he was so real. I remember he's the only one. Like artists back then, I felt like all they wanted was our clothes, and so they didn't care about like who the hell I was at times. They just cared about like, yo, that's a dope shirt or that's a dope hoodie. I want to rock it. And so I remember Dirty, the very first time I met him, he scared the shit out of me. Like he had the gold fangs in his mouth, like, and he went, rah! And I was like, because I thought he was gonna bite my neck or something. I was like, yo, what the hell is wrong with this boy? Right? and then he had alcohol in his hand. He had a bottle, and I was like, and he comes and gives me a big hug. So I was like, yo, this guy's, he made me nervous, right? But he's like, yo, G, it's love, because he was very energetic. And then he was the only artist I remember that always would ask me, yo, G, you okay? You maintaining? You good? You know what I'm saying? Anything you need, you good? Only him and like Biggie really, and Montel Jordan, like those are the ones, and Kid and Play. There's certain ones that always will stick out to me that really showed care towards me and showed me love. And Old Dirty, that's why to this day I rep him, is because every time I built with him, he put it on. He wore it right then and there, right? And he was just so real with expressing like a side that the media wasn't showing of him that I got to see, like that he was a real dude. You know what I mean? That does real things, as opposed to like people like trying to say he's crazy and like, he's mad. And that's what I always remember, is that Dirty showed care for me and always asked how I was doing, as opposed to just like, yeah, just give me the clothes and I'm on my way, right? And so that's something that like God rest his soul, and thank you for being a real person to me, and not just an opportunist per se. You know what I'm saying? And just showing love to the brand. So, I remember this time where there was if I could ever find that picture, like pictures are 1,000 words. There was where one of the guys in their group had up a 100 Miles shirt like in the air, and then there was a Wu Tang symbol right next to it, and then there's Dirty and all of them all like beside me, right? And because they just did a show like way back in the 90s in Toronto, and we had that intimate moment. They're all repping me and stuff like that. So it was just like some really real moments that like I got stories to hopefully write a documentary or
you have to, man. Like this is
so amazing, those times.
Thank you for sharing. Like that means everything.
Yeah, Dirty was real. Like I met him so many times, and always like, he's drinking, but he's sober and real at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but like,
I get it. Yeah, indeed.
He's just a real guy.
And he does come across as like the type that would be that, like, he would be in the hoods, like, like chill with the man on the stoop, cracking a beer, cracking jokes, whatever, and like no security, just
That's Dirty. That was Dirty. So I remember him coming straight to the store and just like showing me that love. But I remember I was scared when I saw those big fangs. I was like, yo, I thought he was gonna bite me on my neck, like those big Dracula. And like the first time I ever saw that, like anybody with those type of fronts. And then I think he knew that by my
Yeah.
kind of drawback towards him.
But it was all love, man. He was just excited to see you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yo, can you tell a story about like Lauryn Hill real quick, man? Like, what was that
connection? So Fugees, when they came to Toronto, we were now at our second store. Our second store was on John Street, which was right opposite to Much Music.
Say word.
Yes, was still the same Masonic Temple building on Queen Street. That was our second store right across the street. And I remember the Fugees walking down the street. And you could always tell like American people by the way that they're wearing Timbs, because people are not wearing Timbs back then from Toronto, right? They're wearing Kodiaks, or like they're not wearing Timberland. So I knew like who are these guys? So I remember like he said, yo, come here. When I look at it, it's the Fugees. So I remember Lauryn Hill, Praz, and Clef. They come into the show, come into the store, and at the time I was really pushing like a designer side of me, right? Like we were trying to break out of the t-shirts and the baseball jerseys and getting into like more of khaki suits, right? And pushing our fashion limits. And then I remember giving them the clothing. They performed with Ben Harper and the Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy.
Okay, that's amazing.
And I remember Wyclef coming out wearing our clothing. They were performing in my clothing at the Opera House, and he came out doing Bob Marley's "No Woman, No Cry." No, with just stringing it on the guitar, and it was like a very intimate moment. I was like, "Holy crow!" Like this is young Wyclef, and we're chilling with them. I remember when they're at the store, they were speaking in Haitian or French, and like they looked like they weren't getting along, right? And I'm looking at them like, "Yo, what's really good right here?" So Lauren is like, "Yo, Garie, take my number, call me anytime." And so after she gave me her number, like weekly, like I'd be like, "Hi, Lauren, you know who this is?" She goes, "Yes, this is Garie from Toronto." So every minute I'd be like, "Yo, I just wanted you to know, I'm here." Right. So let's say in an hour or two, I'd be calling her back. I said, "Yo, you know what this is?" She's like, "Yeah, it's the same guy that just called me an hour ago." So I'd always constantly calling Lauryn Hill, like to the point where she was cool, right? But you could tell, like, "Yo, how many times are you gonna call me?" You know what I mean? To say hi. Like I was just like, I just want to say hi. You know what I mean? Because at the time, nobody knew she's gonna be Miss Lauryn Hill, but at the time, she was the Fugees, and I loved like their whole,
of course,
and the energy that they brought into the game. And I remember the show, like my artist, Rich, the airbrush artist, we were drinking with Wyclef and smoking backstage. So I was backstage with Wyclef chilling, and we're hanging out, we're having a great time, and like cracking jokes. And somebody, I remember it was Thrust from CKLN, comes to me and goes, "Yo, G, your man is passed out in the show. Like he's flatline, he's on the ground, like because he had a little too much." So I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "At this moment where I'm just chilling with, like, and we're building right now." I remember like I'm walking out of the Opera House with this guy like hovering over my shoulder, like carrying him like to the car or whatever, and Wyclef's running. "Gee, where you going? Where you going? We still got this bottle to finish." I'm like, "I can't finish the bottle right now, yo. This guy is gone." Right. And so so these are some like the cool, and this is like young Wyclef before the dreads or just the nappy heads like back then.
Yeah.
Right. And Praz was always quiet. Praz was the most quiet one out of the group, right? And Lauren was just like a lot of energy, right? And to see them, the success that they've had, and to be there in the beginning it's just a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like that I can always remember, you know, meeting them and them coming straight to the store, to going to the concert, being backstage. He introduced me to amaretto, right? That's how I remember the time. This drink, like, so amaretto was very good with a cigar.
Okay.
Blunt. So if you ever have amaretto, try it with a cigar. It's like,
Okay.
and that's what White Club had introduced me to at the time.
Dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Word. Man, golden eras. Like
Yeah. Oh,
the story you're saying was John and Queen. I'm trying to think. Was it in the same location where Lounge was, or is that like another?
Was it the store?
Lounge took over our old store.
Yeah, I knew it.
Lounge. Like again, there's many brands that, like I said, were had their eyes on like where we were, what we were doing, and that was, you know, one of the kind of spin-offs. And he took our old store. Yeah, that was our old store.
That's deep, because when I think about like that location in particular, like I mean, like I come from like the selling CDs, you know, on the street era, and we used to like hang around much music all day. Like that was, but to have a store there, like that's a very strategic like location, very wise, you know, like that's very like intuitive. Like you guys again were so ahead of the game and just really like futuristic with it. Like
I just think God is a very powerful energy, and love of the creator. He's the one that, to me, like, has manifested all of this. Like, I'm just the human being that's been blessed with the title, but the creator is the ultimate energy that has manifested all of this. And so I can't take any credit for anything besides having the breath to breathe, right? And him giving me the inspiration and the knowledge to persevere, you know what I mean, through this lifetime. So I'm very, like I said, humbled to have had the stores and the locations that I've had and the people that I've met and so forth.
And to also follow the calling too, you know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure like so many people get opportunities and but just don't know how to connect the dots and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like there's something like in you that you're able to see the pathway, you know what I'm saying? And then keep it going.
I think starting at such a young age, I remember back then I felt like I was like 60 years old in a 20-year-old's body.
Word.
Like the weight of like pressure and competition, and you know, just trying to sustain a business as a young Black entrepreneur. It was very difficult because our culture can be very difficult and sometimes critical of each other, and sometimes if you you know, dwell into it too much or feed into it too much, it can you know, play with your you know, your ego and so forth. And you know, through, you know, sometimes not doing so well, or you know, setbacks like losing my father, it humbled me. You know what I'm saying? Losing Tupac and Biggie, you know, and certain other artists that, you know, inspired me or made me very much motivated in the culture. Losing them through gun violence that we did upon ourselves, it took a, like, it's like it gave me a right hook. You know what I'm saying? Like it does that to you. It plays on your motivation and your inspiration for the culture. Because I remember a few years ago when, you know, approaching, let's say, this social media chapter of our career, I was saying to, you know, some of my friends at the time, when we come back into the industry or into the major scene of people knowing about us again, we don't want to be associated with hip hop. We don't want to be associated with the music, because I didn't like the way that the culture was going with all these like what a lot of these artists were promoting, like in terms of gang culture or gun violence and like, you know, kill you know, bitch, there's like whole like trap. I didn't want to really associate our brand with any of that type of vibe. You know what I mean? Because I felt that the 90s was about, fight the power. We will unite. You know what I mean? We will stand and, and don't get me wrong. I love the Beasties too. Like, the Beastie Boys and, that part of the culture too. But it was just about being a B-boy, being like, breaking. And so the culture was more rounded through art, through fashion, through the music, you know what I'm saying? Through our dance expressions. Everything was more real than just like I saw everything turn to like this music video where it's half naked women and your jewelry and now it's about like throwing money in the sky and putting it to your ear and
right.
Man, I didn't want to be a part of that. Like I and somebody had to say to me, yo, you are hip hop. You know what I mean? And God rest my friend that he's passed on, and he's like, you are hip hop, and that's why when we came back, I said, all right, we're going to represent the culture, and that's what we try to do in every single aspect of it. Is where we come from. We want everybody always to remember we're that real part of it. You know what I'm saying? And now we've made it into a business, right? And yes, we've taken hip hop now and made it into more of a business, and we're more conscious of like our activities and what we do to try to make sure that we're projecting a positive message into the youth and into the culture.
That you always have done that, and it's like part of the brand that you came from an era where you were a pioneer, you followed your vision, stuck to your vision like Maestro, and you have always represented something good for the community.
Thank you.
Food, clothing, and shelter are basics, and it's like, just proving that Toronto can do it the same way Toronto MCs were like, we got dope MCs and dancers and B-boys. It's like, Toronto got dope fashion designers as well, and you have proven that. Yeah. So I thank you for all like having the integrity of having clothes that literally last. your word is your bond, and your quality is there, and it's always been there. So my last question for the night is I want to be as optimistic and visionary like y'all were, and just kind of dream to the future and say, if there was, Kanye or, one of these billionaire companies was like, yo, y'all are the dopeness, and we're going to put $100 million check in your hand, $100 million for 100 miles. What would be the next level that you take your clothing or your creative expression to?
Well, that's a very good question. I think the runways of Paris, like that's something we've always wanted to touch, right? Is the runways, and we've also would want to like always give back to the community, give back to the youth. Right? So that's something. Whereas I'd love to try to end gun violence in our community. Right? So a lot more money, I think, can bring about more change, because the governments all over the world doesn't want to see us stop doing that. So I think that we have to create that platform for the youth to see that that's not the right direction. So it wouldn't be about just trying to platform for self or for my ego. It would always be to now try to each one teaches one, and so try to teach the youth or inspire the youth, right, to try to not necessarily have to go through the struggles that we've gone through, but to be inspired that they don't have to stand up selling drugs or shooting each other or be gang affiliated in order to gain respect for themselves or respect in their community. They could work hard, and they could accomplish their dreams and their goals without, you know, have to be killing their brothers and their sisters. And so I'd rather want to know that I could put my money and my time into helping my community to get better and to have our own capital and our own generational wealth that we can, you know, continue to grow as a people and demolish all the negativity and all this bad stuff that's happening right now in our communities.
Man.
Until that day, yo, that's
yeah, well, that's a dream, you know what I'm saying?
That's for real.
Well, no, like this is a beautiful way to close this this reasoning session, because, you know, like everything you're saying reminds me of like the foundations of hip hop, that what got me into it in the 90s, which was like this idea of like hope, you know what I mean, that we can get to like a better place, and really believe in that, and being innovative and being creative, as opposed to just being like, yo, like, you know, now like the hope has changed. It's something else, but there, like, the hope of the 90s was more communal, you know, and it was, you know, the idea of like, yo, I got to get moms out of the hood, I got to like get my peoples out, and there is like this like social commentary like that was connected to our goals, you know. Sure. As opposed to like, well, you know, I just want to make my money and just don't on y'all, you know.
Like for us, you know, some of my highlights of my career, like we're celebrating 30 years this year, and you know, as you know, kicking off Black History Month in our celebration, it's also my birthday month, so the end of the month is my birthday, and
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday month.
And you know, I'm blessed to be born in the Black Heritage Month, Black History Month, and with that, like when I look back at some of the artists that I've been blessed to be around, like leaders of the new school, Busta Rhymes, Karis One, right? Like to be in like a closed part of the concert hall with Karis One, and I'm standing there looking at Karis One, and Karis One's like smiling with me and vibing, and I'm like, I can't believe like Karis One's right in front of me, you know what I'm saying? Or that my good friend is Buckshot now, or Most Def, and you know, Fairmont, like, and Redman, like I know these guys. I know EPMD, those are my homies. Like, you know, I saw Parrish and Eric, right? And all that they've done for me. You know, it's just so humbling coming from Toronto, not knowing that what we created would become such a worldwide accepted brand now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel we're still have not gotten our true flowers from Toronto or from Canada that I feel that our brand deserves, because we're always being compared to something else. Like, oh, do you know about this brand, or do you know about this brand? And I'm like, do they know about us? Right? Because we're the ones from the 90s. Like, they just came along. Like, so stop trying to compare us. Like, that's one thing I'd love to tell everybody. Stop trying to compare. Stop. You guys did that in the 90s. And then the other day was OVO. Like, stop it. Like, you know, you saw Drake wear us, right? Like, there's none of this rivalry. Like, it's everybody's just trying to do their thing and coexist in this world. So, you know, I just want people to know, like, you know, let us just be us and recognize us for what we've done. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the things that I feel that we've done, we have not got our full credit for. Like, you know, we always hear brands say, oh, we do this, and then we're like, I wonder where you got that from. Or we see something and they think that they're original with it, and we're like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Like, if you look back at our tapes, you'll see that we've done that. You know what I'm saying? And so all I'm saying is that we just want people to recognize, and this is why 2022, I call it my theme is recognize. Right? For the whole year, like each year we have a theme, and this year my theme is we're gonna make everybody recognize who we are, and not through talking, it's just through our fashion and through our movement and through our actions. We're going to make people recognize that, you know, we're a huge force to reckon with when it comes to the culture. You know what I'm saying? And the vision. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, like that's like the realest right there, man. And you know, just big up to you, man. We that's why we have the Reminisce Show, man, to give, you know, the people them their flowers, you know what I'm saying? Like now in real time, like while we can, you know, because as we know, like I'm sure we've all dealt with loss in life. That's just part of the human experience. And we're just here for a short period of time. You know, we're just passing through. So like while we're here, it's important to be present and to give that acknowledgement. You know what I'm saying?
Especially now. I just lost another friend a couple weeks ago, one of my business advisors. 46 years old, Mike. Love you, man. Rest in peace. I know his family going through a little bit. I've lost a lot of people through COVID, COVID related, non-COVID related. So I just want to tell everybody, keep your head up. Keep everything in prayers. I think everything is answered through prayers and God energy, right? So as long as we dwell on positive, God's gonna always manifest, even if it costs our life. I know that there's a God, and he's a beautiful God, and he represents us. And so, you know, we just got to keep the faith. You know what I'm saying? And so, rest in peace to everybody that we're losing in these times, from, like, you know, these amazing legends like Sidney Poitier to you know, my late friends. You know, just, you know, I'm here just to keep representing. That's all I can really say on the matter.
Nah, man. No, we appreciate that, man, more than ever.
It's beautiful.
You know, gotta keep the beautiful vibes. I just want to leave one more comment, which I kind of some of mine to mention before, but as we're talking about, you know, the John Street, Queen Street, you know, store, and then that was like taken over by Lounge. I remember I was at North by Northeast, and Oliver from OVO was doing this talk and whatnot, and they were talking about like the OVO brand and whatnot. A lot of people don't know that he started at Lounge. You know, that's where he started, and then from there, that's when he got his foot in the door for like clothing and fashion and whatnot. So when you see the OVO brand and whatnot, it's like there is some sequence to it. You know what I mean?
Literally the seeds that you planted, people are taking up. And
exactly. Like, I remember building with 40 before Drake's big launch, and, you know, 40's like, you're a Toronto legend. You're a legend. And I'm like, legend? I don't even know what this guy's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Right? And when people a lot of times come to me like that, or you're a pioneer, and I'm like, man, you make me feel like I'm part of the village people or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the, like, you know, I don't want to. Don't date me like that. Like, I ain't a dinosaur. You know what I'm saying? Right? So,
well, yo, man, you looking young and fresh, man. You don't even, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm 5'0".
But hey, man, but honestly, but like for us to like be able to be around greatness in these foundations, I mean, even stolen from Africa, like all these ideas like come from those foundations, man. Yeah, like the sequence is very real, and yo, like own that, take it. You know what I mean? That when you say recognize, it's like like all these brands, you know what I mean, and half of them probably don't even realize, you know what I mean, the connections. But if you really do the knowledge and you look at it, there is a sequence, you know, and all of us are doing our things because we saw that it could be done. You know, that's something that's very important to our community. Like representation matters. You know, like you guys didn't have any representation. You were the representation, so you were just going off of just whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like at least we could be like, yo, the Mandem did it. Okay, like, yo, we got some foundations to stand on. You know what I mean? So definitely own that. You know what I mean? So when we say pioneer, you're like, I don't want to call you elder, but but pioneer, like, you know what I mean? OG, triple OG, quadruple OG. That's just like out of respect, you know what I'm saying? So,
I thank you guys. I really want to thank the Reminisce Show for having me. Thank all the listeners for, you know, hearing me ramble on about like you know, the history of my brand and the city that, you know, I really, really love, and that's Toronto, where I'm from. But at the same time, I want to shout out the world now. Like in the last few years, just to have this global platform or a global presence, you know, and people, you know, in my DMs or in my emails telling me like, what my brand means to them, and you know, they were buying my clothes from when they were 12 years old, and now they're, you know, married with 3 kids, and you know, or you know, I have 3 generations in a family wearing my brand, like from the grandmother to the mother to the daughter wearing my clothing, and
Oh, you man,
you know,
legendary, yo.
you know, I'm speechless, tell you the honest to God truth, and more always wanting to give all the energy and props to the people around me, and people like yourself, Knowledge, people like you, Mindbender, and everybody that's touched 100 miles. Like as much as it's people say my brand, it's your brand too. It belongs to the culture, it belongs to the people, right? And that's how I've always seen it. You know, it doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to the community that we represent, and anybody that wants to be a part of it.
Bro, I'm getting goosebumps just the way, because that's how I feel about like the SFA brand. You know what I mean? Like when people like wear, and I made a comment, like I made a post earlier today, because like when people put on like the SFA sweater or whatever, like the excitement, the joy, like it's like they're like part of something. You know what I mean? And that's exactly how I felt when I first put this on. You know what I mean? And then it really clicked to me. I'm like, yo, this is what people are talking about. Like, because I feel like it's mine. Like I really do. You know what I'm saying? Like when I wear it, it's like I feel empowered, yo. I feel like I'm part of something that I can rep. You know what I mean? Something that I can honor. You know what I mean? Like it's like you said, it's about the community. You know, I know putting this on is representing that I'm part of a community.
Yes, and all I want everybody to know is that as brands, like let's not compete with one another. Let's compete with the higher powers to be, and let's compete with, you know, our health and our faith. You know, keeping ourselves very healthy and keeping our faith. And so, with any negativity that decreases you, you know what I mean, and decreases your energy and your momentum. So don't look to somebody else to give you that energy. Find that energy from within yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's what 100 Miles has always tried to do. Is we've always tried to find our fashion sense within us. We're not going to be looking at like Gucci and trying to be like Gucci. We're not going to be looking at Louis trying to be like Louis or Yeezy. Anybody. We don't do that. We just try to be us. And I think that's why I think we've been able to exist for 30 years, is because, you know, we just always just want to be us. Like we just doing our thing, like, you know, and you know, we just want to keep doing that, you know.
There's nothing more hip hop than yo, keeping it real, staying true to yourself. Like you've been the example from the pioneer days, and like yo, man, for another 30 years, another 100 years, blessings to your success. Black-owned Toronto, pure hip hop for the people, wisdom, truth, art, style. Like you're doing it perfect, brother. And just please, much continued success to your brand and your dreams.
Thank you. Man. Thank you.
We appreciate you for coming through, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Anytime. Anytime. And, you know, thank you for your stories. The last thing I'm going to say is you have so much gold in you, and like more of your stories need to come out. Like really, anytime.
Like this is, like I said, there's so much more we didn't even talk about today.
Yeah, okay. I want a part 2 to this, yo, because later this year.
Stay tuned. Hopefully we could do a documentary. Like that's something that a friend of mine told me that I should be working on. It's my documentary.
I'm gonna follow up with you on that, man, because I want to tap into that, man. I got some ideas too.
Okay.
Reminisce Show, like there's a lot of different stories, and it's time now, man. You're talking 30 years, like let's go, man. This is community, man. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. But again, thank you guys. Enjoy your evening. Stay safe. Brother. All right, and happy Black History Month to everybody.
Thank you, man.
Every day is Black History.
Absolutely. For real. And happy birthday. Peace and love, Garie.
Peace, brother.
Yeah. Have a good one.
You too.
You too, man. Peace. Yo, man.
Yo. So, and all our guests in the comments, yo, Nato, Colleen, Alex, yo, Righteous as usual. Big up. Thank you for rolling with us. Solo Key, I hope I'm saying that right.
Yo, shout out, Chill, man. That's my dude right there, man.
Yeah,
like,
Chill.
Brand, man, been pushing the brand, putting on for the people. You know what I mean? Like same way. We're all cut from the same cloth, man. Like really built on community, amplifying voices and letting them know, man, that we're out here, man. Chill, man. Canadian hip hop is legit. And yo, man, this is just pure vibes right now, man. What a beautiful way to set off, you know, this month, man, with some classic history, some stories right from the brother Garie, man. 100 miles, man. It's just been like incredible. Oh shit, wait, he came back?
What?
Oh, I see him back in the green one. I don't know if he went. Wait, hold on. Let me plug him back in, yo.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you came back?
Yeah, sorry. I thought I cut you guys off. So my
apologies. No, it's all good. No. Like that's cool, man. We're just wrapping up or whatever, yo.
Oh, okay, so should I be gone?
Yeah. That's cool.
Okay.
All right, peace, brother. Yeah. I just saw him come back. Polite. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, mad polite.
Yo, that's love, man. Oh, so much like
story.
Thank you for that, yo. Like, thank you, Logik, for lining that up, and like, thank you, Garie. Like, man, like, oh, I'm at the point where I literally collect ODB stories like nuggets of gold. Anybody who's crossed this path, I'm like, yo, I need to hear that. Like, I'm sitting here, I got nothing else to do, yo. Tell me every detail that your brain can piece back together. I'm good for an hour. Get like mad detailed about it. And what he shared is golden.
Bro, like I said, man, with the Reminisce Show, this was the intentions, man, of capturing like these stories that have been like forgotten. And not just that, it's a few things. It's to give the flowers to those who came before us. But then I've noticed that like when we hold these spaces for these people, you know what I mean, that we bring into our space, you know what I mean, it's so healing. I can tell that there was like a lot that he never really even got to express before, you know what I mean? And we were able to like hold that space and do that. So when we're talking about documentaries, man, like all of our archive, man, trust me, there's a bigger plan with all of this, you know what I mean? Some people get the opportunity to hear these stories live, but yo, we're going to be repackaging all this and got some ideas, man. And yo, this is just the start of it. And I love how everybody who's come on the show is willing to come back again, because we're going to need that, man. Because
we're going to
be talking documentary. This is the foundations, man. So y'all getting it in real time. Yes. And we got the OGs with us. Oh man, you can't stop us, man. Let's go, man. Yeah. Reminisce Show, yo, every Tuesday, man, carrying the traditions of Sankofa, because sometimes you got to go back and collect what you may have forgotten. You know what I'm saying?
And take it to the future.
And let's go, man. Hey, March is Black Future Month, man. So we going to keep it moving, keep it forward.
Yes.
Until that note, man, we are out, man. Peace to everyone. Join us, man, every Tuesday, man. Reminisce Show, Logik Mindbender, SFA, Stolen from Africa.